Well, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Derek Yale, and you're right back on the High Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. And as always, we encourage you to follow the network on Facebook. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, or the LRT Live, and on YouTube as well. And always, please do us a favor by sharing the program on your individual social media page as well. For today's episode, we have a fruitful discussion, and we have a new panelist for your entertainment and your for the building of our conversation. We have new panelists, so that's the big news for this episode. But as always, let's begin with the current event, beginning on the international stage. If you've been following the news, you know that a massive earthquake hit Turkey and Syria. Sometime a major earthquake hit Turkey and Syria sometimes last week, and Turkey president this week announced that the death increased to 35,418, and also Syrian officials have also said that at least 5,800 people have died from that earthquake. So we encourage you to keep to keep the people of Turkey and Syria in your prayer. And also from the development in Liberia, we would just like to keep you aware that we are 237 days away from our elections in this year. So it's 237 days from the elections in Liberia. So speaking about elections, the vice president of Liberia, VP Joy Howard Taylor, had won against voters trucking ahead of the voters registration. So the vice president, speaking to Front Page Africa, warns against the trucking of voters in the respective counties. So at this point, I would like to have my panelists on the screen, and we will open up the introductory segment of this show by us talking about the VP warning against voter trucking ahead of the voters registration. Welcome back, guys. Bobby Mitchell Crawford, Martin Boulder, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. Liberia Vice President VP Taylor won against voters trucking ahead of the voters registration. But before I get you guys input on this current events, let me first welcome you, Mistress Elizabeth Collins and Mr. Boulder, to this panel. Welcome to the High Zone. Let me start with you, Mr. Boulder. Welcome to the High Zone.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for having me here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you as well. And also to you, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. It's a pleasure to have you, and welcome to the High Zone.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Bobby Mitchell Crawford, the Lord Mayor of Bentor. It's always a pleasure having you. And let me use this time to officially welcome you to another episode of the High Zone.
Thank you, Brother Derek. To our many viewer and listeners out there, we say our apologies. We have been on the air for a while, and we are back with a vengeance. Thanks for having me, Brother Derek. You kind of muted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bobby. And let me get you guys input on this current event. We know we're 237 days away from the elections, and just a few days ago, the vice president of Liberia, Joy Howard Taylor, warns against voters trucking. Now, I just like to use this news snippet to get you guys' opinion on it. Let me start with you, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. What do you think about that, given the fact that we're 237 days away from the elections?
Wow, 237 days. Before you know it, will be October 10 will be right here. And I'm glad that the vice president is quick to point that out about voters trucking. I am from Lrtn County, and Lrtn County is always a victim of candidates that are running in Lrtn County are always a victim of that voter trucking, because I experienced it before. And given Lrtn County It's bordering Sierra Leone, Guinea, and and some part of Ivory Coast, depending on which part of Lofa, I mean the Ivory Coast, being Guinea and Sierra Leone. The Canadians in Lofa County, some Canadians truck people from Guinea and Sierra Leone. And with hands down, with all no remotes, the truck people. I am a living witness because the border between Guinea, especially Guinea and Liberia, is open. It's open border. You can cross in Guinea anytime. You can cross into Liberia anytime without nobody asking you any question. The security, there's no security, there's no border control in that part of Lofa or Liberia, to be specific. Same
Thank
way
you.
with Sierra Leone.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you very much, Mistress Collins. And this is just the introductory portion of the show. So I just trying to get you guys' opinion on the vice president warning. So let me come to you, Mr. Boulder. What do you think about the vice president warning ahead of, and especially being 237 days away from the elections?
Uh, it's a good thing to alert in the minds of the Liberian people about voter trucking. And it's important that it coming from the house of the current leadership. And I think we need to take heed to that. All Liberians and the voter public needs to be very mindful of that because our systems is very fragile to all of these stuff that will influence on the right of our elections. And so let us take heed to that and pay attention, and all Liberian needs to be mindful. And the Electoral Commission needs to have system in place to prevent such a trucking activities. So I think it's important to note here that in the past, the registration needs to be done with the people in the various districts and constituents that are within borderline or different township and so forth, being aware because they know each other. So we have to have some system in place to curtail those kind of attitude which would not influence on the electoral process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. And to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford, give us your take on the vice president warning and 237 days away from the elections.
There shouldn't be a warning. This coming from the vice president, I think it's a shame because at this point in time, they should have instituted a biometric system, that takes into account the unique DNA of a prospective voter. So they should be doing more than warning about trucking in voters. What they should have done was to give the election commission all of the necessary tools. I think earlier on this show we discussed about the biometric voting system. That's just one of the things that has eluded the election commission of Liberia. Besides the censor, that will be what to gauge the population that participate in the election that has been a fiasco. And besides the voter registration rollout that has been delayed. So there are a lot of constraints on the election to the extent where the United States government has come out to say they are hoping this election can be free and fair. So the vice president sounding an alarm about trucking in voters should be the least of their problem. Because as we can see now, the election commission itself is beset with a whole lot of problems. There are not guardrails in place. And the integrity of our election is pivotal at this time in Liberia because this is an election that will determine the course of our nation for the next 6-7 years or maybe 12 years. And Liberia is at a crossroad. We cannot afford to screw this off, for lack of a better term. And the vice president warning, it just, I don't think it's sufficient enough. The government should be doing more. And I think at this time it's very late. And there's a tendency that the election would be robbed. And it's too unfortunate.
The vice president warning is insufficient. That is the voice of the Lord Mayor of Bentor, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. But guys, if you're watching us, this is the Hot Zone. That's what we are about. Here, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. So on the show tonight, we will be talking about CDC petitioning President George Weah for re-elections in 2023. And we will also talk about the CPP, especially the reunion of Joseph Imam Bouaka and the Unity Party into the CPP. And we will also talk about the feud between two clergymen, that is Pastor George Weah and
Pastor Prince Johnson.
Reverend Prince Johnson. So we have more for you tonight. If you're watching us, go in the comment section and leave us your take first on the introduction. What do you think of Vice President warning on the coming elections in 237 days? But for now, let's take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will get into these discussions.
Hey there. Many Liberians are members of social clubs, 501c NGOs, and school alumni. Many Liberians are trying to open their own 501c NGOs, home care agencies, and social clubs. Does your organization have a professional website? Does your web platform have the right wording and content to attract grants? Hopefully you're not running your organization only through social media. There's a more professional route. You need an online space where you can craft a positive message about your organization, making your home health agency more credible, which will increase your chances to receive grants. We'll build you a responsive platform for 501c organizations, healthcare agencies, and other types of organizations. We'll provide you with full website maintenance, membership sign-in, private charts, Facebook and WhatsApp integration, live video feed for all your meetings and special occasions, a dashboard for members to see all the activities, and email and text auto reminders for meetings. We'll build with donors and 501cs in mind, and will help you solicit grants and automatic membership due collections. Building you this amazing platform will only be a membership fee of $19 a month. Call or email us now. Let's upgrade your website. Home health agencies and small businesses, you owe it to your company to project the best image possible, and we can make it happen. Visit www.tiamit.com or call 215-966-8679. Ask for Tommy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yale, and for today's episode, like we said in the first portion of the show, we have a very fruitful discussion for you. So let me have my panelists back on the screen so we can get right into our discussion, beginning with the 1 million man march that was hosted by the coalition of democratic change, or as you would like to say it, the Congress of Democratic Change. So let's get into that 1 million man march. I would like to start this discussion the very broad concept. So the February 4th 1 million man march, is that a resounding yes from sympathizers of the government or supporter of the government on the re-elections of President Weah, or is that, from your take of it, from what you saw, is that like a resounding no? So let me begin this discussion by asking you guys for your introduction on that discussion. What do you make of the 1 million man march that was hosted on February 4th? I'd like to start with you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
I'm not a fan of crowd politics. What it does is that it stokes the egos of politicians. And I would be the first to admit, the size of the people that show up at your rally is indicative of your popularity, but that don't necessarily translate into votes. The case of Darius Dillon, what's his name? That guy from the CDC ran against him. Was that not Sir Joseph? I just forgot his name. What's the other guy that ran against him? He put one of the largest crowd in Anthony Tubman Stadium, but yet instead Darius Dillon was able to beat him by over 100,000 votes. Liberians are nosy set of people. Let me put it mildly. So whenever there's an event of that nature, especially that has to do with the government, a sitting president, they show up in mass to identify, maybe get free T-shirts. But from that crowd, the Anthony Tubman Stadium, it wasn't a middleman march. A few thousand, but I just don't want to dwell on the amount of people that were there. And you and I know for sure it wasn't a million person at that stadium. But I don't want a politician or whosoever to be carried away by crowd politics, because at the end of the day, getting people out there to vote, taking those people names down to be actual voters that will go to the polling station to be able to vote for your candidate of choice, that's where the real work began. But one thing that struck me though was the flagrant violation of several election laws.
I will hold you right there, Bobby,
Okay,
Mr. President. I will come back. I will come back to you on that. I don't want you to push the discussion before we get
Okay,
there. So
actually, that's
let me
okay.
let me come to you,
I'm fire.
Mr. Boda. Let me come to you, Mr. Boda. Give us your introduction on this discussion. The 1 million man march, or the CDC February 4th rally. Give us your introduction on that.
I said people were just hunting for food. The people are hungry. And in the simple term, people may take advantage of the same way government is taking advantage of these poor voters or poor Liberians or whatever. They took advantage of the CDC the same line. Come and get what they can get for that day, eat some food, have some fun, and go home. It's not necessarily going to equate into a voting population. So that's just another thing that to understand. Liberian comes around this time around to get anything they can grab to sustain themselves for the day. So CDC was feeding the crowd. You remember back in the days in the 2017 election, they were the party. Everybody was going to eat. And if you realize right, and the CDC have abandoned those people, and they're coming back to reap what they think they deserve. So it's not necessarily that they have a middleman march because they are popular or they're going to vote them in for the next elections.
Thank you. Let me stay with you, Mr. Boda. And I want you to address something Bobby said. Crowd politics, and you said Liberians were just going over there for food. So now let me ask you though, were you impressed with the amount of people that were there, and how can you be sure that, let's say, 70% of those people will not vote for the current administration?
First of all, look at the people that went attend the rally. Many of them are not registered voters. Those are
is that your opinion, or is that a fact?
You can look at the crowd and tell those people what
it's just you observing.
Yeah, okay. By observation, many of these people are not voter registration age. And if you can look at the data and you can look at the fact, you can research it, you're going to see for yourself.
So one of your reasons for thinking that most of those people, most of the people that are over there will not vote for the current administration, is that from your observation, they are not registered voters.
Yes.
Okay. I will come back to you on that. But let me come to you, Mistress Collins. Talk to us about the 1 million man march of the CDC. Talk to us.
Well, when I watched the video, because I was not present when I watched the video, it's like CDC putting up a show, and Liberians get carried away by public sentiment.
Exactly.
Oh, CDC. CDC not doing again. The people, they cry. The human being, everybody want to go see. Everybody want to go see. And some people say, well, they stole our money anyway, so we're going to eat some. Exactly. But it doesn't mean that it's going to, transcend into elections. Again, we cannot overlook that, because CDC that we know, they will use what the Liberian people can call cash violence, give people money. Because I remember the other last election, they were giving people money to go and vote. You vote, you go vote, you take picture of your election ballot and bring it, and they give you $20. So again, we can't overlook it, but it was just a show. For what I saw, it was not 1 million people. You don't know, it was not 1 million people. There were a lot of people, but it was not 1 million.
I mean, one would argue that it was, because maybe the 1 million people were not inside the facility of the Anthony Tubman Stadium. Maybe they were on the surrounding streets. But that's for whoever.
The Anthony Tubman Stadium
cannot take 1 million people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. One can argue that the other people were outside. The other people were outside. But let me stay with you, though, or Mistress Collins. Bobby was getting there, but let's talk about what was happening before the actual rally. There was or I can say conspiracy theory out there that this rally was different. The preliminary stage of this rally was different from the previous election for the CDC. One was some were saying that the CDC before never gave the partisan T-shirts. This time they were paying partisans and they were giving out T-shirts for people to go out for the rally. What do you make of that story? And talk to our audience about that.
Yes, I think this time around it was different from the first one. The first election, people were making their own T-shirts. People were making their own T-shirts, but that particular one, the people are hungry. They're not going to take their money to make T-shirt. But CDC want to put on a show, and so they were giving people money. I mean, they were making the T-shirts and giving them to people. So I want to believe that. I think that's what happened. That's
What
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 went.
what happened in less than 6 years that the CDC left from having loyal and committed partisans who will make their own shirts and spend their own resources to be there, but now they are depending on the party to do that. What in your opinion, what changed?
CDC from the onset, people had different view and different opinion and said that Opon was a young guy and he needed, so the young people were going to support him, and people felt that Opon were going to deliver. But you and I know what Opon is doing now. He's not delivering. He's not even paying attention to the people now. And now people have different mindset now that we're suffering. We voted you in, but you're not helping us, and we are suffering. So why would we want to use our own money now
Thank
to
you, thank
support
you,
you?
thank you, Mrs. Collins. And let me come to you, Bobby, on this, and you can get into what you were talking about because I'm about to ask you a direct question on that. But first, please address what I just asked Mrs. Collins about
regarding the
cities,
difference this time
with the
around.
difference, the difference now and then you can also talk about because the election coordinating committee. I'm reading the front page Africa, one of the front page Africa News article. Observed that the rally organized by CDC is a flagrant violation of election laws in Liberia. So talk to us about that, Bobby Mitchell Cross.
Absolutely, but I'll just pivot back to what she was talking about earlier. I mean, it's pretty simple. Enthusiasm amongst the citizenry rally has diminished. This is occasioned by extreme poverty they've been exposed to. You and I don't need to, you don't need a rocket scientist to explain to you that basic services to Liberian people is dismal to begin with. I mean, we have pontificated on this show some of the woes the Liberian people have been exposed to and how their solutions are there for them to access. But at the same token, I just don't want us to, to push the CDC, whatever crowd they pull out that day at the Anthony Thomas Stadium to be dismissive of it. There are actually some diehard CDC supporters that still believe in the philosophy and platform of the CDC. But what I really wanted to key on that has to do with the illegality of that gathering, the Coalition for Democratic Change. There was no correlation over there. Prior to the gathering at the Anthony Thomas Stadium, there was still some bickering going on with regards to the signatory of a new document. Remember, the one the Election Commission has already expired. So they were operating illegally to say that they are going on at the Anthony Thomas Stadium to endorse President George Weah under the banner of the Coalition for Democratic Change, when in fact it should have been CDC. That's one flagrant violation of the election law. And this is something that we take lightly in Liberia. And my brother earlier before he came on the show, he talked about campaign finance reform. And not only that, the printing of billboards. When it was in election season in Liberia, they haven't declared officially that election campaigning has started. They had the President George Weah and Joel Howard Taylor pictures placarded all over the city. That was another violation. And the election commission said nothing about it. Now, let me tell you that the 1986 Constitution of Liberia, with regards specifically to campaign finance reform, right? I mean, campaign finance laws, right? The president, you know how much is supposed to spend? $2 million. The senator, less than $1 million. But guess what? You have auxiliary groups outside of Liberia in the United States and elsewhere collecting money coming from a new different parties, different agencies that infusion of capital, I mean money into election laws of Liberia, in election activities in Liberia, and no one is talking about it. You see, so this is something that should concern everybody. And it is not just a CDC problem now, but it's the flagrant violation of our election law should concern all Liberians. It compromises our election integrity. It places us at a disadvantage as far as ushering a government that is responsive to the Liberian people.
Thank you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. And let's stay on that. And let me come to you, or Mr. Boda. The flagrant violation of our election law, as reported in the Front Page Africa, and also as stated by one of our panelists, Bobby Mitchell Crawford, it undercuts the principle of a level playing field. Mr. Boda, how serious is this, and what tell us what should be done to take care of this and to make sure that all of our election laws are not, or some of our election laws are not violated. Talk to us about how serious this is.
Like Bobby Wagner said, people take election law very not serious in Liberia. And political parties, it goes to the ruling party, the opposition, and so forth. Everyone needs to adhere to election laws because that's the bedrock of the democracy that we want to have. If we violate this rule, we want to violate every other rule within our government. We're talking about elections. Yet the president is in charge of the country. He uses his office, national corporate money, to run all of his activities. Nobody had told where is the CDC funding is coming from. They use government vehicles to go around the country, run activities for the conventions. And not just the CDC, every incumbent government in the Liberian situation had done the same thing. Now we're coming to a new elections. So these things has to be dealt with by the election commissions. Election commission cannot be mute on this situation. They had to be vigorous and making sure the law are held to, not just sitting like something that unmovable. So we need to look at the issue. That's very concerning. If we need to have a fair and free elections, if these things are not addressed, anything can happen. The election has not been declared open. So why is it somebody that's violations?
Thank you very much.
Just a little caveat. That's why
I give you 30 seconds, Bobby. Go ahead.
I applaud the effort of that individual that went at the Capitol building. He was pulling down the signs that were put up by Yake Koluba and some other, billboards around the city. And I was surprised that the Liberia National Police didn't even attempt to arrest him because they felt that they were in the wrong. And I think that was a brave move on his part, and that's very brave in Liberia to pull down George Weah picture in the billboard.
Thank you.
Do that.
Thank you, Bobby. And if you're watching us, this is the Hard Zone. We're talking about the CDC 1 million man rally, and that was held on February 4th at the Anthony Totman Stadium. Due to time, we have exhausted all of our time for this discussion, but I would like to close with you, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. If you're watching us, leave us your contribution in the comment section. But coming to you, Mistress Collins, talk to us about this. I know Bobby has said it, Mr. Boda has said it, and I would like for you to take a different spin to it. What should the opposition community be doing right now as they're faced with a flagrant violation from the current administration? What should the opposition community be doing right now?
The opposition community need to wake up. They need to wake up and make sure that the ruling party is doing the right thing in order for us to have a free and fair election. Because the ruling party have a lot of advantage on their hand. The election commissioner is being appointed by him, by the president, by the sitting president. And so, but there are election laws. There are guidelines, rules and guidelines. They have to make sure that those guidelines have been followed according to the Liberia election law. and they need to wake up. They can't sit at some parliament and wait things to happen. And when things go wrong, before they start to talk, they need to start talking now. And start talking now and making sure that everything is on the right path. Other than that, George Weah will take every advantage that he has to do so that he can be re-elected.
The opposition community needs to start talking now. That is the voice of one of our panelists, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. If you're watching us, leave us your contribution on this discussion in the comment section. But for now, that's it for this discussion. We will take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will get into the reunion of the CPP, or we will call it former Vice President Joseph Yimambwaka rejoining the CPP. We'll talk that and more after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yale, and tonight we're having a very fruitful discussion. We talk about the CDC 1 Million Man March that was held on February 4th, and we also talk about the upcoming elections and Vice President Joel Howard Taylor signing warning for against the tracking of voters. Let me have my panelists back on the screen, and we will talk about the CPP and if the door is still open to the Unity Party and former Vice President Joseph Yimambwaka. Now, as you guys know, brief history on the CPP, or top political party that lost the elections against President Weah, came together, formed a collaborating political party, making up the ANC, Liberty Party, Unity Party, and what's the banner you were party? I forgot. Yes, they came together.
Yes.
Yuri.
Say that again.
Banana Yuri.
Banana Yuri.
Banner you were party. What's the party? I forgot.
All of them. I don't blame you for forgetting them, because sometimes I'm gonna say I don't even know the CV.
I just forgot. I didn't.
It's ALP. I think ALP, All Liberia Party or something.
Yeah, that's it. The All Liberia Party.
I don't even know they are political.
They came together and they gave the current administration the biggest defeat in their political history. So, and then things happened, they split apart, and now election is closer, and we're hearing news about them coming back together, specifically the former Vice President of Unity Party rejoining the CPP. Now, again, I'll come back to you guys with this, just from on the surface of everything. What do you guys think about the CPP opening the door to Unity Party and the former Vice President? I'd like to start with you, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. Talk to us about the reunion of the CPP.
The question that I have is, why are they waiting for 237 days to election before ironing their differences and coming together? Why they waited that long?
I mean, they were together.
Unity, there's unity, there's strength. You know that when people come together, they say united we stand, divided we fall. I believe that they should come together. If they have to make an impact in the election, they should come together. But my thing is, I think they waited a little bit late for them to put that iron their differences and keep the CPP.
So do you think it's late, given the fact that election?
Yeah, it's not late. It's not really late, but that means they gotta work fast. They gotta work double.
Okay, we'll take that as your introduction. Let me come to you, Reverend Boda. Talk to us about the reunion of the CPP, or the CPP opening the doors to the Unity parties.
I think it's a viable option for the opposition. It's a viable option. And why do I say that? If you realize the CDC is not a standalone political party, they had to have a coalition to grab elections. The only party that had been a standalone party was the Unity Party. So if the standalone party and the other sub-political party with very little vote, recognizing that with the strength of that unity, they can be able to have first term elections. They don't have to go for runner-up. So it's a good option for them. So if they don't do that, then at the end of the day, they're going to have a very tough time uniting because George Weah will manipulate this person, the second term election with money because they don't have the finances to combat the current government. So it's an advantage for them to organize and come together. If they don't, the chances of them coming to round two, money will have to play in the election, and how many of them got money to play in our elections?
Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. Let me come to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. The CPP coming back together, or the CPP?
Harvest. It's
Is
futile.
talk to us about that.
It's futile. Sorry, I interrupted you.
What? No,
And,
go ahead. That's fine.
and I don't want to. Here's the thing, though. It has been experimented already. What people, I am aware that it is the wishes of the Liberian people, and any political observer will tell you, right? In order to win election in that country, it is paramount that you engage in collaborative effort. That was the reason why they experimented with the CCP. You know, as it stands right now, may I remind all of us on this panel here that we still have a collaborating political party that is headed by Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings, the candidate that I support. So whatever you see out there is a fraction no. The Election Commission of Liberia recognized the Liberty Party that is in collaboration with the ANC. The door is open to the to the Unity Party with Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings heading that ticket. And Unity Party, Joseph Boakai don't want to do that. He wants to be president. So giving all of these indications, it is absolutely impossible to have a united opposition. And may I remind all of us here, Mr. Cummings has been dragged through the court system. He was lied on by some of his fellow friends within the CCP for 6 months. He was dragged through the court system. So there are a lot of bad blood here. So at this time, the feasible way forward for collaboration among the political party, opposition political parties, they say, listen, we know we can't come together to form a united front to contest the election, but this is what we do. Whatever party that goes to the second round with the CDC, because there's a possibility there's going to be a second round. Nobody will lie to you. If the United Party has garnered enough votes, let's say like around 37%, and the CCP headed by Mr. Cummings is lagging around 25% that they can't make it to the second round, CCP will throw their support behind Unity Party just to defeat George Weah. Because another tenure of George Weah would be catastrophic. Is that the right word to use? That I always struggle with that pronunciation. English is my second language, but that's digress. It would be a disaster for that country. You understand? So that's the only unity I see. But at this time, it is absolutely far-fetched. In fact, who are we kidding? Benana Yue is a soon enemy of Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. That's a new fact. He doesn't like the man. And the old man Boakai, he's being remote control. You know, he has exhausted all the political capital that he has. And whenever you hear about opposition coming together, my people, man, the people are broke. They're broke. They don't have money. So the CCP was the cover up, and Mr. Cummings was paying all of the bills. Even all of their representatives are contesting the election. The Unity Party representatives and their respected whatever senators that are contesting this coming election, they don't have money.
Thank you, Bobby. Let me hold you right there, and I'll come to you, Mr. Boda, because you made some points that are contrary to what Bobby just said. Now you mentioned the CDC, reminding us that they are not a standalone political party, and
Well,
you
no.
talk about
In our election, there wasn't a unity party. Was a standalone party. They had ANC, they had Labour Party prior to during the 2017 election. So there are a bunch
let
of
me
stuff.
let me make my point, Bobby. Um, you mentioned that the CDC will now a standalone party. The CDC currently is not a standalone party, and you talk about opposition unity or collaboration is necessary at this point. So now Bob is saying this is like a toxic relationship. It's not going to happen given the past. Now, what do you say to Bobby's point? What do you say
Yeah,
to Bobby's point?
I tell Bobby this is the situation where that's where the CDC, the CPP has the issue because everybody is so ambitious to be president. They're not looking at what is at stake. Is Liberia. Kwame wants to be president at all costs.
No, no,
Mr.
no,
Walker wants to be president at all costs.
Let's
no,
protect.
no, no, no.
Bobby. I will come back to you, but let's protect you.
So, and when I say that, let's go back to elections, the 2017 elections. What was Mr. Comey percentage in our elections? What was the Unity Party supporting our election? They had 28%.
Well,
Comey was way below the line. Hold on, Bobby. Hold on for a
Bobby,
second.
I will give you a time to respond
So
to.
what I'm saying to you is, in order to win George Weah in these elections, if Comey thinks that he can stand by himself and Bogart thinks he can stand by himself, they want to stand by themselves into that electoral process. And at the end of the day, George Weah has more influence with money. Take, for example, the PYJ factor in Nima County is not, don't forget that factor. There are other political parties that is not aligned with its CPP. And those people can align themselves with the CDC and they can whip the elections. Like brown people should not be carried away by this because they don't want George Weah. But if you're not united to hold together as a political party, as people that want to lead a party and unite this country, then there's a chance of you losing our elections. And you will cry at the end of the elections.
Thank
But
you.
that's about it.
I will come to you. I will come to you after I give Bobby his 30-second on Mrs. Collins.
Yeah, quick 30 seconds,
Okay.
right? Here's the thing you have to understand. When the CCP was founded, there was a series of steps that should have been exhausted for them to come up with a candidate that will go against George Weah. A voter perception, a primary. But instead, they wanted to annoy Joseph Boakai. That's where the trouble came from. Comey availed himself for them to go to primary. The old man refused.
Bobby, let me hold you there for a second. I'm not arguing the fight of. Hold on.
No, listen. We talk together, we don't sing together, right?
All right, make your
Sing
point.
together, but we don't talk together.
Make
Here's
your
a
point,
fact.
Bobby. Mhm.
Here's the fact. In Liberia, we have that settled mentality. Earlier, you talk about Cummings wants to be president at all costs. I disagree. Liberian people have to understand this. Politics is not static. If Mr. Cummings was 7% 4-5 years ago, it doesn't mean that 7% is constant. If there's any politician in Liberia that has put in the work, it will be Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. He has evolved. And you know what? During a chairmanship, as CCP chairperson, it was during that time that the CCP enjoyed one of her best election moments. We saw the election of Darius Dillon. We saw the election of even some candidate that were on the ANC platform. You understand? So that 7% is just a perception. You understand?
All right, Bobby. Let me give.
I just wanted to register that.
Okay.
You
Okay.
understand?
Let me
It's the
give.
old man that walk away from the
Bobby,
CCP.
Bobby, let me give.
It's not Mr. Cummings that walk away from it.
Let me give Mr. Boda a chance to come back. Go ahead.
What I'm saying to you, Bobby, I'm not talking about. It's the same argument that we keep having over and over. Mr. Comey has done all the great things. I'm not disputing the fact of Mr. Comey works. But politics is about popularity. It's your who know you, how well you are connected in our environment. And if it comes to connections, the Unity Party is well versed and connected because they are led in Liberia. and they,
But if that's
Bobby,
the case,
hold
all
it
right,
back.
Let's protect Mr.
So
Porter.
what I'm saying to you here is, if you hold in the basis for what Mr. Comey had done and continue to pound out the same argument, we're not going to get a result that we're looking for. We have a give and take at this point in time where it's a crucial elections that LeBron people are saying, hey, we don't need a CDC government. But how do we remove the CDC government is the option that we need to find.
Here's the
option is
Okay.
unity.
I have to listen, Bobby. I have to bring Mrs. Collins in this discussion. let me get your take on it.
So look, you and I know that if Comey goes alone, he's not going to win the election in Liberia. Joseph Boakai go alone, he will not win the election in Liberia. George Weah will win the election again. And we need to pay attention to these facts. Number one, George Weah got the money. He will use our money to get re-elected. So let not sugarcoat anything. If CPP gonna come together, let it come together. And because the Liberian people, you know what I see? It's better to stay with the devil. We know that the angel that is coming. The first thing they are saying, for what we're hearing, Comey is not connected. Comey is disconnected. Those are some of the things that we hear around. Whether it's true or not, well, that's fine. Granted, Comey have done a lot of stuff in Liberia. He built schools, he gave money to marketing association, and the whole 9 years. But during the 2017 election, he never won one seat in the House. Not one seat. Now, let us pay attention to the details. Cummings, if he goes solo, he will not win election. Liberian people, they got their mindset is different. A lot of them will say, okay, he think he got money, let him go sit down. He already got money, why he want to be president? But that's a way of thinking.
Let me ask you a question before I go to
Hey man, Derek, man, you
Bobby,
put me on the sideline here.
I'm not putting you on the sideline. You know what? I'll hold my question, Bobby.
Yeah.
Were you about to make a statement or ask a question?
Yeah, very quickly. Here's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I'm not in a box. I understand the political variables. It is a scene like when people that said George Weah was popular, they like him, and today they're going through it. You understand? It is a scene like when people now saying Mr. Comey doesn't have the connection. Joseph Boakai, a political dinosaur that been around for the 2 years, he has the connection. We like him. Let us elect him. That's fine if that's the case. Mr. Comey has a completely different platform from Mr. Boakai. And he believes he is endowed with the requisite ties and personality, and he's putting in the work. If the Liberian people don't see that, and they want to elect somebody who they feel comfortable with, that's on them. You understand? And he will continue making the case. Boakai has arrest. Mr. Comey has the job creation, infrastructure. When he talks about infrastructure, it's about internet connectivity, reliable electricity, water supply to Liberian people. So they are different platforms. Right now, he's doing his country tour, talking to the voter. If they don't see that connection, that's fine. It's on them. Let them go ahead and elect Mr. Joseph Boakai. Let them go ahead and elect Mr. Whatever, George Weah. But he's not going to be vice president to anybody. If there's anything,
Bobby,
if anything, is Mr. Boakai supposed to step down. For the 2 years in government, why he has to show for it? The likeness were in Liberia. The man been here in the United States. What connection he has? He in people's basement watching pool game. Is that connection?
Bobby, I'll come back.
Liberian mindset we need to change. We are underdeveloping our country because of our behavior. Our underdevelopment is a reflection of our politics, and we need to change that mindset. And Mr. Comey is the change agent, and he's not going to succumb to a political dinosaur that has nothing to offer but total disaster. And like my old man said, not every advice you can take from old people. Foolish people grow old too.
Thank you, Bobby. Let me ask you this question though, Mistress Elizabeth Collins. Earlier you mentioned that Joseph Yimambuaka in the Unity Party
A connection with
and
you.
Alexander Cummings and the CPP needs to pay attention. If they don't come together, and correct me if I'm wrong, George Weah will simply win this election. You said that. Now,
Yes.
Bobby's point earlier, he said that this train has left the station already. These people came
Long
together
time.
and they had a toxic relationship and it fell apart. Now, my question to you would be, are you saying that despite the past, they should find a way and reunite just to win President Weah? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and this is why, yeah, that's what I said. And the reason why I'm saying that is the Liberian people are tired with George Weah mistreating them. But who do they have? Who can they put there? Who can protect
Mr.
them?
Alexander Benedict Cummings. He's fighting the
Bobby,
system.
please,
That is why
You
Bobby,
understand? So
Bobby,
who did they
Ella,
are tired?
He doesn't,
I
he's
go
not a
home every
sucker
year.
for power that hates him. He's the
I go
real
home
peace
every
agent.
year. And guess what? I'm from Lofa County. I go in Vangerman City every year.
My man from Lofa County.
I drive on that road
People do.
every year.
So it's Guinea Weezy.
You understand?
okay.
And so Joseph Baka, let me tell you, this is the truth. This is my option. If Alexander Cummings go as running mate to Joseph Baka,
Oh, under no circumstance say he will.
Bobby, let's.
that's my opinion.
That
If
one
Can you,
get
Alexander
can you
Cummings
allow
go
us?
as
not to be
vice
president.
president,
Bobby.
No.
but that
Hold
would
on,
be
hold on,
the
Mr. Collins.
Man,
Guys,
that is the
guys,
happen, man. You release me back.
guys.
that would be
Okay, Bobby,
Yeah, man.
let allow her to make a point.
role
You can't let
leading
people
be
come
a
and be
president.
promoting your old man on the
That
show.
would be a role leading me to be a president for the Republic of Liberia. Trust me.
Yeah.
If
If Joseph
can
Baka
turn
would be
around,
president, that's okay. You know, he had never learned anything. He always been behind this and that. If I president for 2 years, look at the man who in FOIA. Look at the man hustling FOIA. Say I want her to go there. I was at the foundation.
Hey, Bobby, let me differ with you. The mayor house has nothing to do with because you're vice president for 2 years.
Oh, no.
No. This is where if he chose to build his house the way he built his house.
Oh, really? Your hometown?
Yeah, because that is where we convert our people.
You know what that reminds me of? He hasn't been engaged in corrupt
practices. Because the man was vice president for 2 years, does that mean he should have a mansion? No, he went into
in Liberia. That was somebody making government.
If that's how come you're going to choose Liberia when you come to government and build mansions, then you're a good guy. That's the wrong rule. We see we are building mansions. We see everybody around George, we are building mansions.
Bobby, but Mr. Crawford and Mr. Boda.
No,
let me tell you something.
Show me one tangible thing in that man name in Liberia. I'm waiting.
I don't care about what tangible he has in his name. I care about the repetition.
You guys are the problem for Liberia.
No, listen to me.
I'm not the reason why our country continue to regress.
No, Bobby, listen to this.
Bobby,
I'm not saying to you when you become president, you go and build mansions. I want to see tangible.
Wait for mansion. It doesn't mean you can get a decent home or place in your hometown.
No.
Mr. Crawford, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. Guys, if you're watching us, this is the Hard Zone. Here, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. Leave us your contribution in the comment section, as you can see right now. The panelists are hard and they're getting their points out there. Let me come back to you, Mr. Boda. Mr. Boda.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you agree with Mrs. Collins that Cummings should go as running mate to Joseph Yimambuaka? And talk to us why. And my direct question to you, if you agree that Cummings should go as a running mate to Joseph Boaka, are you also in agreement that Boaka is will be a more competent president than Cummings? And tell us why.
Well, the reason Boaka is more electable to the Liberian population. The Liberian public are in law for him. Election is about likability. You have to be likable by the people. It's not that Cummings is not competent. But who is likable to be elected? Boaga, and you put Boaga and Cummings in the electoral booth today, it's likely that Boaga will win Cummings. So who do you want to have as your candidate to represent you? You want to have somebody that electable. And Omer Boaga electable. But if the CPP want to go to conventions and test that electability in the convention, that's fine. They can do that. They got the time to do so.
Well, but let me stay with you though, because you made a very interesting point. If we were to put Cummings and Joseph Boakai today in an election, Joseph Boakai will defeat Cummings. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Now there was this time in the CPP when they had to go to primary, where it was just 4 political leaders that were to contest for the standard bearership of that collaboration. So if Boakai is very confident that he will win Cummings, why he refused to go to a primary?
Well, I don't know what was the framework agreement. What was I have not read through that.
The framework agreement calls for primary at the time.
Okay, so but the same the breakaway was not just on the basis of not having the primary.
Are you with us?
All
right, let me come to you, Mrs. Collins, because let's talk about this CPP Joseph Yeman Boakai. Defend your
position. I think he's back.
Okay, go. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
You want me for a second?
Oh, okay. I'm back now?
Yes, you're back. You're loud and clear.
So, like I was saying, I mean, they had their own internal conflict regarding the framework document that Mr. Buck, it was alleged that Mr. Cummings injected something into that framework that took them to court. And nobody won the case from the Supreme Court. Supreme Court settled among the party to go, and everybody has to go back. It's not as if it was a clear-cut victory for anybody in that decision made by the Supreme Court. If you read the judge's opinion on that reading. So what I'm saying here is, if Mr. Cummings and Mr. Boakai indeed want to lead Liberia and give it prosperity as a claim to have the knowledge to do so, they can do peace sacrifice for the Liberian people, not for their own personal greed. And it is where we are struggling with, because of Boakai greed and Cummings greed, that we find ourselves at a crossroad. And if somebody cannot step aside and say, hey, look, for the love of our country, we want to move this country forward, let's do this, I sacrifice this, we're not going to achieve what we're looking for. That's my point.
Okay, then let me stay with you. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer this question. You talk about, if you put Cummings down, and just to re-emphasize your point, if you were to pick between Cummings and Joseph Yeman Boakai, you will pick Joseph Yeman Boakai because he's the one more electable for the Liberian population. Is that right?
Yes, at the present time, Boakai is more eligible than.
What about the issue of governance? What would you say to that?
Governing, Boakai can govern. He has experience in government. He has served in government for a very long time.
He and Cummings.
Cummings has never served in government. Okay? Cummings is a corporate guy who worked for corporate Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is self-defined.
Thank you. I have to. I'm sorry. I've given you enough time. Or
yeah, go ahead.
Let me come to Bobby, and I will come to you next, Mrs. Border. Bobby, talk to us. I think Mr. Border and Mrs. Collins are on the same page about picking Boakai over Cummings. Picking Boakai over Cummings. Now they are more about electability than governance. What would you say to that?
That's the problem right there. Here's the thing. Whenever, and this coincides with like people telling you, oh, you don't understand Liberian politics. I say this on the show all the time. When a Liberian politician or Liberian man tells you don't understand Liberian politics, what it's telling you in essence is you don't understand the patronage system, the tribal nature of our politics. You don't understand the rampant corruption that's pervasive within government. Let me tell you something, man. Come on. What is so complicated about a Liberian political system? A unitary state. Our budget is around 500 million. Mr. Cummings, He has managed budgets in billions of dollars. He rose through the rank of Coca-Cola. You know what it is for a man that speak with an accent to rose to that rank as executive vice president? You know what it takes? SWOT analysis. My man, you did business in school. You understand the strength of an organization. What is complicated about the Liberian government? Nothing. The executive wields considerable power. He appoints and dismisses. So is that what complicated about it? In Liberia, the civil service agency is not even operational. This is something that Mr. Cumming talk about. You know what the civil service agency is about? The Liberian government is like the human resource of the Liberian government. We don't even have that. Mr. Cumming wants to bring that back. You know, that's something Baka don't talk about. You know, and you telling me he hasn't worked in government? Since Mr. Baka has worked in government, what he has to show for it? What experience he has? For the 2 years working as agriculture minister or LPNC boss, what policy has he implemented in those places that involve and something to show for? Mr. Comey has a track record of solving complex problems, having multiple budgets. And you telling me a budget around 500 million, that's why he doesn't understand? You must be joking. And whenever they talk about, somebody be greedy for power, they say in essence, the man should settle. You over there, Mr. Body, you born your child today. You wanted to settle? You wanted to aspire to greatness.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby.
Out of a country that has a youthful population, over 80%, they are still looking on this 84-year-old man to provide leadership. That's a travesty. It's a sad day in Liberia.
Let me tell you.
Thank you. Thank you, bro.
Let me just tell you.
Hold your thoughts, Mr. Let me, Bobby, I've given you enough. I have given Bobby. Bobby,
to change.
Bobby,
ask you about
Mr.
what
Crawford.
Electability.
Mr. Crawford.
Is that just the win election?
Mr. Crawford.
It is important.
Bobby, listen. If we put out a candidate that is not electable, like people don't like,
then so be it. We'll continue making a case, but we are not going to.
So if you put out a candidate that the people don't like, because you want the people, so who you going to serve?
Listen,
you gotta elect somebody. You gotta elect. You gotta put somebody, put out a candidate that the people will like, that they will vote for.
And that candidate is Joseph Boakai, right?
If you put Cummings and Joseph, if you put Cummings and Joseph
Boakai, right?
If you put Cummings and Joseph Boakai in the booth,
no, you didn't answer my question.
Then people will vote for Joseph Boakai.
That's fine then. That's fine. But go against Mr. Weah. If Mr. Boakai win, let him show the type of leadership he has. You know the point.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Mr. Collins.
Your poor Joseph Boakai there.
Bobby, can I ask my question? Now, Mrs. Collins, let me ask you this question. Now, let's retrospect for a second on the issue of electability and competence of governance. The 2017 election, who was the most electable? And who have more experience when it comes to governance?
Joseph Boakai had a more experience, and he had a more experience when it comes to.
I wasn't done with the question yet. That was a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So clearly, President Weah was the most electable, and at the time, Jose Imamwaka was the more experienced.
Yes,
he was on the good governance side, and the Liberian people picked the most electable. Now today again, you're making an argument that Jose Imamwaka and Ellis Cummings, the Liberian people will go with the most electable. Now I made a point to draw your attention to something you said earlier. For the sake of the country, don't you think that the opposition community should rally around someone who is more competent than electable? Don't you think that is what's better for the country?
That's what.
Well, again,
Bobby, allow her
again, we are not talking about if we are not talking about somebody being qualified or unqualified. The both of them are qualified.
Who is
But if
more
are the both
qualified?
of them electable? Are the both of them popular among the population? No. Cummings is not popular among the Liberian people. Joseph Boakai is popular among the Liberian people. Now, if we have to get rid of George Weah, or if we want George Weah to be one time, and so the Liberian people suffering can wrap their hand around how they can go around about their life, how they can improve their life, we have to come together and elect somebody that the Liberian people at least will say, at least we got somebody will not suffer, we will still be suffering, but at least George Weah is not ignoring us. Because right now, George Weah is ignoring the Liberian people. He doesn't even care what goes on, what you eat, whether you got medicine, whether you got transportation, whether you got what, he don't care. Whether they take pay, he don't care.
Thank you. Okay, so my final question to you will be: in the case of Jose Yeman Boakai, given him being the statement that he is, and an elderly statement, don't you think that it will be more prudent for him to rally his support behind someone who is, in all sense, with all no disrespect to him, is more energetic, is just as qualified or experienced as him? Don't you think it would be the wise course of action of him to rally his support behind that person if he truly loves his country?
Well, they should come together. Like the way they want to come together and reorganize the CPP.
The other way around. What about him? What about him going as a VP?
He already been a VP. And,
there is no constitutional mandate to say how many times you can be a VP.
I know there's no constitutional mandate, but what I'm seeing is that the people were elect him more than Cummings.
Even if you go as a VP. All right, so we thank you very much, Mrs. Collins. You answered all of the questions very well, and thank you for your contribution. And let me come to you, Mr. Boda, and you can give us your final thought on this discussion because we're about to close the discussion. I know you had a response to Bobby. If you still want to respond to him, you can go ahead. But while you're responding to him, can you talk to us about what I just asked Mrs. Collins? Boakai being an elderly statement. Why can't he? Isn't it a wise course of action for him to rally his support if he is very patriotic about a better Liberia, for him to put his support beyond a younger person that is more energetic, just as qualified and experienced as him? Don't you think that is a wise course of action for him? And give us your closing on this topic.
Well, look, when we talk about achievement, they both candidates have achieved in a career path. Boakai has served in many roles and ascended to vice president in the Republic of Liberia. That's why Kwame has served in area in corporate America and ascended to one of the highest, being a president for COGLA vice president and president for COGLA in Africa. Okay, he has served. So they both have competencies of being a good leader to lead our country. But when it comes to election, the point here is electability. So if you have those two, they both of them, Boakai staying up in the Liberian environment because he has the experience, he has electability. Kwame has one, which is the experience. I mean,
so if Boakai goes as VP to Cummings, you think he will lose those votes?
No. The people choice is they want somebody who they love to lead them. It's not to be second to them.
Okay.
So that's
give us your closing. You have 30 seconds. We're out of time.
That is why Cummings has the opportunity, and he will be more viable when he learn the Liberian society, get to know the people, travel a lot. He used the connections, Walker, there's an easy path for him to ascend into that presidency. But he got to change this coming election. If he lost this election, trust me, you got a lot of young folks coming out. You will not hear about coming if he doesn't win the election. The next election coming will be a history.
Thank you very much. And let me come to you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford, and I'd like for you to close on this topic, Mrs. Collins. But let me take Bobby Mitchell Crawford first.
Mr. Anderson, yeah, he's just cracking me up. Yeah, you know, they say everybody like politician in Liberia, and this is a good exercise. You know, it's good for our transient democracy. People, you know, have their own analysis of how things should be. What we're seeing here tonight is just the tribal nature of our politics. People feel the people they like, they share certain tribal alliance with, those despite qualification, despite their track record, and they feel comfortable with this person. And I'm not surprised that Liberia is at where it is because of this kind of politicking. That's our problem. It would have been best after serving your country honorably for 42 years. You know, you talk about defeating George Weah, the clearer path would have been to endorse a younger candidate in Mr. Cummings. It's game over. The man has the tenacity, he has the resources, he has the qualification. But it's almost like Dr. Tipote. If it cannot be the head of something, then nobody else can be. Then who is more greedy for power here? You have served the country well. You have somebody else trying to have the opportunity. He said, no, I'm wise enough to keep serving. Even if I die in office, come and be under me. I only do 1 year, then you come there. If you feel more qualified, then go ahead. And you talk about Mr. Cummings going to be a one-hit wonder, I beg to differ. You understand? A new breed of Liberians are coming up. Today, they may have semblance of ignorance, but the message of change is resonating with them. That is why he's giving his country tour. The ANC or the CCP is not a fan club. It is an institution. Change people are resistant to change. People don't want to change. The status quo should be the same. Oh, I know this man. This is how he's my uncle. That's how he would be. No, that's not uncle. My mom is from Lofa. My dad is from Mosorado. I speak a lot of languages fluently.
Bobby, wrap up.
I'm not going to go down this tribal line because I know the pressing and I know they will do better. My first vacation though at LPMC, one of my in-laws was secretary, Miss Josephine, I will mention her here, was Barker's secretary when he was doing his tenure at LPMC. The old man is mean. The old man is a mean old man. Very cheap. And now the same person you're running behind here to be president today.
No.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Mr. Woda. Let's go to you, Mistress Collins.
Yes, I am promoting a
help us close this conversation. So let's move on to the next one, please.
I'm not gonna look at my man. So.
Mrs. Collins, give us a closing on this discussion.
All right. The Lord Mayor, Bobby. I am from Lofa. Joseph Barker is from Lofa, and you from Lofa as well. You got Lofa blood in you as well. I'm not a United Partisan. I'm not I never ran on United Partisan. You know, we doing our days when we're doing those days. But the fact remains that if you put in a candidate, look for a candidate that is electable. All right. It has nothing to do with tribal because I know him or because he's from Lofa, he's my uncle, you know, traditional uncle, and that's the reason why I'm saying this. We are looking at the handwriting on the wall. We don't hear a rocket scientist to come and tell us that Joseph Barker and Cummings, when you put Joseph Barker and Cummings, who the Liberian people will choose. The Cummings man that you're talking about, when are he been to Lofa? If you want to be technical, when last Cummings went to Lofa? When last he went to Lofa?
Mrs. Collins is supposed to be closing.
So so I don't want to go there. So the close my closing argument here is that let the United Party, let the CPP come together. If we want to get rid of George upon Weah, so the Liberian people suffering can minimize, let the CPP come together, Cummings go as vice president to Joseph Boakai. That is the way forward. And he can use that time to build his capacity to be the next president for the Republic of Liberia.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Collins. And guys, if you're watching us, this is the Hot Zone here. There's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. And guys, it's been a very intriguing, very interesting conversation. You guys, thank you guys for your contribution. And if you're watching us, keep your contribution in the comment section as well. But for now, we would like to draw the curtain on that discussion and then take a very brief break. When we come back, we will talk about the feud between Senator Prince Johnson and President George Weah. But we'll take a very brief break for now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Derek Yali, and you're here watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. Thank you for staying with us thus far, and we have been talking about issues surrounding the political space in Liberia. And let me have my panelists back on the screen, guys. If you're watching us, wherever you're watching us from, make sure to leave us your contribution in the comment section. And of course, please give us your feedback on the show as well. And don't forget to share the program on your individual social media pages and follow the network on Facebook and YouTube. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network and the Lrtn Live on Facebook. Guys, the feud between the president of Liberia and one of the senators from Nimba County. Front page Africa referred to it as the puppet war. Puppet war. I'll just read an excerpt from the article. Senator Prince Johnson, Movement for Democracy and Reconstruction, the MDR party, recently accused the Weah-led government of plotting to assassinate him. And in response to that statement, the president appeared in his folklore clone Jalale, I don't know how you say that word, church, and he made a lot of statements. And one of the statements he made was that he's a man of peace. He's not a murderer. If anyone should be referred to as murderer, that would be the senator from Nima County, Prince Johnson. So, guys, let me get your take on this. What do you guys make of this field? Two pastors going head to head. Let me start with you, Mistress Elizabeth Collins, the president of Liberia, and Senator Prince Johnson. Give us your introductory take.
Well, I don't know why Prince Johnson he came up with that statement. I don't know why he said that. He accusing the president the president, because I don't know him to be wearing. I don't know if he's being ordained as wearing, but I will refer to them as senator and president. I don't know how he came up to say that the president trying to assassinate him. I don't know where he got his clue from, or who told him, or where he got his information from, what have you. But I listened to his speech, some part of his speech, not all of it, on his pulpit. He said that so somebody asked him a question, but during the war, you kill a lot of people. You know, why you afraid that somebody want to kill you? And he said, oh, that was wartime, and why they're not. And even if somebody even asked him, you killed the council rival, and he denied, oh, I didn't kill the council rival, and somebody that killed the council rival, and all that kind of thing. But I don't know why Prince Johnson is afraid, even though George Weah did not. He did not already say, okay, yes, he planned to assassinate him, but they need to knock it off, or they need to go to the council of churches, maybe that can settle between them or what have you. But when election time coming, people bring all kind of topic to distract the general public from the issue. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. But Prince Johnson, there's something that he planning, I guess, but he just put that in front in my mind. But I don't think George Weah is trying to kill him or what have you. I don't know, but I don't think so.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Collins. Let me come to you, Mr. Boda. Talk to us about the puppet war between the president of Liberia and that of the senator, one of the senators from Nema County, Prince Johnson.
Well, I personally, I think it's challenge. I mean, these are our leaders. You're talking about senator and president. And if you're on the pulpit talking about somebody want to kill you or somebody kill somebody, that's not where we need to be at this time. We'll talk about reconciliation. These people should reconcile the nations. Prince Johnson has a lot on his hands. He got blood on his hands in the Liberian Civil War. He fought the Civil War and didn't know what it did to people. And George Weah, on the other hand, has a government that have killed. A lot of people have died. There have not been anything to justify the death of those people or to bring to justice the perpetrator of those acts. So either one of them are not of a clean hand at the moment. And they are leader of our nation. So for them to come and take the pulpit and use the pulpit as a shield to hide themselves and pretend to be people of men of God and whatsoever, I'm not a Georgian. But their attitude tell us truly who they are. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boulder. Let me come to you, the Lord Mayor of Bentor, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Give us your take on the feud between President Weah and Senator Prince Johnson.
It's a disgrace. You would think that if there was an ordinary city, that was a damning accusation against the government to say that the government wants to assassinate him, a political figure. On a normal circumstance, if there was just an ordinary citizen who are then dragged in front of the National Security Agency to provide facts, as to why they came out with such an accusation against the government. But that besides the point. What is disappointing though is the president that is perceived to be the united in chief, that's supposed to rise above partisan politics and just the petty politics, and he's not doing that. And you want to engage in the war of attrition between George Weah and George Weah and Prince Johnson. Hate him or love him, I think Prince Johnson is more eloquent, and he has a one-punch down that that resonates with the Liberian people. I've had the opportunity to listen to some of his preaching at his church. He's very eloquent, and whatever he says is precise, is pungent, and he really describes the presidency of President George Weah. Unlike George Weah, when he mounted the pulpit at Fokonkan church, it's just a bunch of gibberish. He's all over the place. It's grieving and leading, and he's not even precise with his criticism. And at the end of the day, it is the Liberian people that are suffering. Serious national issues are not being discussed or taken care of. We all know the notoriety of Mr. Johnson during the Liberian Civil War, but we are also exposed to the bad governance of President Weah. So it is not a win-win for the Liberian people. What Mr. Weah needs to concentrate on is to provide governance for the Liberian people, and what Mr. Prince Johnson needs to concentrate on is to be that senator for the people of Nema County, because he's the one who gave us George Weah. He's the one who went into a collaboration with Mr. Weah during the second round of the 2017 election, when he threw away beyond George Weah to become president. So today he's trying to unmask the devil that he created. So he's also a part of the problem. In all public tussle and hustle between, and besides, they are not even revving. They are denigrating the word of God, using the cover of the Bible to laugh at the Liberian people, and that's the sad part. And when people like gravitate to these messages, it's just a sad reality for all of us. And I don't think it should be that way. So I don't want us to elevate their conversation or whatever they have to say to a national discourse that should warrant any kind of a discussion of any nature.
Thank you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford, and just speaking on this topic, the political leader of the Liberian People Party, presidential hopeful, a renowned human rights lawyer in Councillor Tewanse Gonglo. He said that the verbal exchange between these two individuals is the early warning sign of conflict. And let me come to you, Mistress Collins, because earlier you said that you don't think that the current administration or President Weah is trying to assassinate Prince Johnson. And here, Councillor Concro is saying that the government of Liberia should take this seriously and should launch an investigation into a senator and former warlord making that statement that his life is at risk. How do you align those two statements, given the fact that you don't think the current administration is after Prince Johnson?
Prince Johnson is trying to start a trouble. It's something, I don't know what it is exactly, but in my opinion, he's trying to start a trouble. And so the government should set up a committee to investigate him so he can prove that the government is trying to assassinate him. In my opinion, because you go on your pulpit, go preach. You want to talk about God, go talk about God. I don't know who ordained it, but the both of them need to cut it out. They're making mockery of the pulpit. That's not the place for you to go and add and invent. The government of Liberia trying to hunt you, take them to court, and with your evidence.
Thank you. Now you made a statement that I just want you to clarify this. It seems like you're taking a position that Prince Johnson is trying to start trouble. Like, do you want to clarify that, or do you want to explain what you mean by that?
Election is coming, and he's trying to find a way so that the Nimba County people can have it again or re-elected or whatever. I don't know whether if his senatorial seat is up. But whenever election is coming, he always try to start a trouble so that the Nimba County people can continue to support him, can continue to keep him there as senator. Because he always tell them, I am your lifeline. I am the only person that can protect you.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Collins, let me come to you, Mr. Border. Let me ask you a different question though. With the feud between those two individuals, the president and Senator Johnson, what do you think? What do you make of the relationship of the current administration with the people of Nimai, given the fact that the president is feuding with someone who they consider as their godfather?
I think Mr. Prince Johnson is very creative. People sometimes tend to underestimate who he is. He's creative in creating situation narrative that rally the people around him and giving that power. So in that situation, he's trying to throw a point to Joe Weah, letting him know, hey, look, we need to dialogue. You have something for us. You need my support. This is where we are.
He halted his support from the current administration. Do you think that that relationship will ever be replenished?
That's a possibility.
Explain. What is the
Politics
possibility
is
there?
like I tell you, politics is about money. And Prince Johnson is all for the money. He won that $7 million he claimed to have with the government. And the Weah-led government is playing politics in Nimba County, trying to divide the Nimadians So Prince Johnson has portion of that population, and George Weah is manipulating a way through that population. So in order to engage, Prince Johnson have to come with something that would threaten the population of Nima County. And those are the strategies he's using. So let Labrambo be mindful that Prince Johnson is strategically positioning himself to negotiate with any political leader or any political party. So
Thank
that's the
you.
game he's playing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boda. But let me stay with you for a second, though. In regards to what Councilor Gonglo is saying that this exchange between those two individuals is an early warning sign of conflict. How seriously should Liberian people or international partners take the exchange between the president and that of Prince Johnson, given the fact that he's a former warlord?
I can assure you, Liberian people are not prepared for what happened in 1990.
Do you think the government should launch an investigation or just take it as a bluff from Prince Johnson?
Well, Prince Johnson is making an allegation. He's a senator. He's a sitting senator. These are the people that make law for our country. He knows the Constitution. He knows it right. And he threatening by any statement or allegation made against him or towards him by the president. There are channels that he can go through to address his issue.
Right.
So,
Okay. All right. Sorry for interrupting you, but I have to move on to Bobby. Bobby
yes, sir.
Mitchell Crawford, talk to us about the seriousness of this exchange between President Weah and I love Prince Johnson.
Um, Earlier, I talked about it is the Liberian people that are the losing end of this exchange between the president and the MDR standard. Well, he's not the political leader no more. I think there's another gentleman that is leading, but here's what would the Liberian or we need to understand on this blue app on this panel right here. If you underestimate Prince Johnson, you will do at your own peril. You and I know, I keep emphasizing this, Liberia politics is trouble. The Geo trap in Nima County, no matter what you say, they will constantly vote for Prince Johnson. He has a sway in the political lifeline of the people of Nima County. And Nima County is the second vote-getting county in the Republic of Liberia. You know, we don't have what we call our system electoral college. The election in Liberia is by numbers. Whoever has the more numbers wins. I just bent my screen just went there. Whoever has the more number wins. So whatever Prince Johnson say, but remember now you have what brought about all this. Prince Johnson was disgruntled because when he supported George Weah in the 2017 election, some of the promises that George Weah made to him wasn't fulfilled. When the movement for democratic reconstruction decided to throw their weight behind George Weah, it was promised that we're going to be given cabinet position, top level cabinet position, and some other agencies of government, which didn't come true. So it was predicated upon that Mr. Johnson decided to just, say this time around, I'm not going to support you. And exactly what's happening. And there are a series of accusations that he leveled against the government. For example, he said that when Mr. Weah took over, one of the things that Mr. Weah said was the government was broke. And Prince Johnson said that is factually incorrect. In fact, Ellen left money in the bank. And there's a note that Mr. Weah signed to say, yes, this is what I received from the government. So there are a lot of damning accusations against the government that he kind of dared President Weah to prove it otherwise. So that is what angered Mr. Weah to go on his pulpit to start having an exchange of words with him. And, but whatever Mr. Weah is doing is at his own detriment, because you cannot, overlook the political weight that Mr. Johnson has. You cannot be dismissive of the fact that he's a serious political actor in the Liberian political arena. And if you do that, you will have a rude awakening. So all of this blustering, all of this letting out air, and all of the chest pumping is just an attempt to see who's wearing the bigger pants in the house. And Mr. President Weah is doing it at his own peril.
Thank you very much, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. Guys, I would love to come back to you guys for more contribution on this discussion, but we have exhausted the time set for this discussion. So at this point, we will take a very brief break. If you're watching us, thanks for staying with us, and keep watching the Liberian Radio and Television Network. But we'll take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will bring you the icebreaker question. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. Before we get into our discussion, let me take a brief break from the show and bring you our Hustling in the Hard Zone segment, and we will introduce you to a very interesting story of a Liberian woman who is a college student. She attended college, but due to the hardship the economic condition in the country, she had to improvise, and she opened an entertainment spot where she sells drinks, she sells roasted meat and other things for refreshment, and you know it. But don't take my word for it. Or watch this video of this interesting story from this Liberian lady, and I'm sure you will be inspired.
Hi, I'm Deputy Mariah Walker, CEO of Glass Gear Bar and Grill. I started this business like 2-3 years ago, but I was squatting with someone. But based on one or two reasons, you can't be under somebody forever. So without having the ability to do the job and the passion, I decided to open my own place. And I'm a year older. I opened this place December 24th. So this going December 24th, maybe 1 year. Yeah. Okay, so opening this business in Liberia to get a job, it's very hard. I'm a graduate of African Methodist Episcopal University. I'm a university graduate. Graduated a year or two. But to find a job is very hard in Liberia. Very, very hard. Even if you get a job, they give you the job, you don't get paid. Like 2-3 months, you don't get paid. So I find it necessary to do a business because in Liberia, no matter what you sell, they got to buy. Even if that 1 or 2 person, that's one of the challenges we are facing here. Quarrel, we don't get quarrel, we get it. Like doing this business, we don't really get customer like that. When I started doing it back then, it was okay, but now this is very, 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 very tough. Very, very tough. Customer not coming like that. So if you close because no electricity for 3, 4, 5 days, you got your customer going somewhere else, and to get them back is kind of very hard. So Glass Gear is located Lagbasi opposite the Zoo Junction. Right between there's 2 Zoo Junction, the first one, the second one, but I'm just in between. It's called Glass Gear Bar and Grill. To all of my friends in out of America, you guys are welcome. I do grill, we got fish, we got chicken, we got meat, and trust me, my service, don't go there. It's very, very, very okay. When you come, this is the home of the cordiest drink. The home of the cordiest drink. All of the drink you think about in all of Liberia, I have here. Come and feel free, enjoy yourself, make Glasgow a place to be. My contact is 231-770-072424 and 231-880-05-8874. Thank you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're watching us from, you're still watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek, and thank you so much for staying with us to this part of the show. Now, it's the fans' favorite segment of the Hard Zone. We are here with the icebreaker round, and for today icebreaker round, we'll have a question that actually tie in with one of our discussion points. So let me have my panelists back on the screen, and then we will get right into icebreaker, the icebreaker round of the Hard Zone. Guys, for tonight icebreaker round, and those of you watching us, you can leave us your take on the icebreaker round in the comment section as well. And the question for tonight icebreaker round is in light of the talks about unity between CPP and Cummins. How would you guys define teamwork and or collaboration? How would you define teamwork or collaboration? So I would like to start with you, Mr. Boldad. In light of what we talk about, the unity between Cummins, CPP, and Jose Yemambwaka, how would you define teamwork or collaboration?
Well, a team is a group of people. Collaboration is achieving a common goal. So the common goal I would tell the CPP and whoever is the elections. They want to win election, that is the common goal. So if you want to win the elections, think about your common goal. So that principle, things that would connect your team and your collaboration is our end result. And what is our end result? We want to win the election. Whatever plan we have today as opposition or wherever you find yourself on the aisle, the elections is the power to that goal. You have to win election first before you can achieve any of those goals.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your contribution on the icebreaker round. Let me come to you, Mrs. Collins. In light of our discussion on the unity of or the reunion of the CPP or the CPP opening their doors to that of Jose Yemambwaka, how would you define teamwork and or collaboration?
Well, there's strength in unity after election as election. So they should come together with one voice. The numbers will increase if they want to achieve their goal by removing George Weah. They should collaborate, work together, teamwork. They both do it together. Teamwork. Collaborate. Teamwork. After election, selection.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Collins. And let's come to you, the Lord Mayor of Bentor. Define for us teamwork and collaboration, taking into consideration the reunion of the CPP with that of the Unity Party or Jose Yemambwaka.
It's kind of counterintuitive to have teamwork and collaboration, given what I alluded to earlier that has been experimented already. The train has left the station, and the whole concept of unity was conceived in the document that is enshrined in the collaborating political parties signing document. They felt there was a need to come together. That was experimented. at this stage, in as much that we know that no one candidate can win the election, but we are not kidding ourselves that equally so people cannot come together because there are just so many competing interests. Mr. Bwaka wants to be president and Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings wants to be president. Both have respected platforms that they think that they can do better being the head of a ticket. So it is far-fetched to even preach unity at this time and teamwork. We'll be kidding ourselves. This is something that I don't think is possible. So the question itself is counterintuitive, to be honest. So I don't think that's the question we should be asking. The question should be how with those different opposition parties can be able to cooperate if one of them make it to the second round, because there will be a second round. No, not even the ruling party going to make it, going to get a first round victory. It's going to be a second round. So is the ANC willing to support a Unity Party ticket if they do make it to the second round? And vice versa, is the Unity Party willing to support the CCP candidate if they do make it to the second round? And I suspect that's going to be difficult to do because there are some people that are so enemy to those respective candidates. Under no circumstance, a person that supports Mr. Cummings will be willing to support Mr. Bwaka. And it's vice versa. I'm just being a political realist. And that is a danger. And if that happens, we want to see the election of Mr. Weah, and the suffering of Liberian people want to be on steroids, unfortunately.
Thank you very much, Bobby Mitchell Crawford. And before I come to you guys for your parting comments on this episode of the Hazon, this is where I get to give my contribution on the show. And I'll go with everything you guys said about teamwork and collaboration. Obviously, teamwork, a group of people coming together to solve a problem or to achieve a certain goal. And as far as collaboration, one thing that I know from my opinion is that for a collaboration to work, both parties needs to be willing to compromise. And in the case of the CPP, I think that was broken in the beginning because when you get a team and you get people collaborating and you have one party that thinks their idea is more dominant, or one party feels entitled, or one party feels that they should be ahead, I think that breaks the collaboration. So in this regard, in this specific case, I think for them to successfully collaborate, is they should come to a consensus where they can agree that or they will go through the process, and that no one will have feel entitled, and no one should feel like that their
Exactly.
idea should dominate. So that is just my take on when it comes to teamwork and collaboration. But guys, it's been a very fruitful, it's been a very intriguing conversation tonight, and I would like to thank each and every one of you for your contribution as always. And Mrs. Collins and Mr. Bodat, it's your first show. Thank you so much for your contribution. But before I draw the curtain to this show, I would like to give you guys the opportunity to give your parting comments. And Bobby, I would like to start with you on this, and I will give you the privilege, Mrs. Collins, for you to close this show tonight with your parting comments. But let me start with you, Bobby Mitchell Crawford.
Thank you, Brother Derek, and thank you to the Liberia Radio and Television Network, through its CEO, Mr. Joseph Anderson, for providing the Liberian people this platform where we can come here and run our mouth and to be able to contribute to the vibrancy of our nation. Liberia is at a crossroad. This election is very pivotal. Who we're going to elect as a leader will set the course for the next 6 or 7 years. On all of the developmental indexes, we as a country, we are lacking. So we have to understand that whatever leadership we're going to usher in, it will be a leadership that will be able to solve some of the problems that Liberia has. The lack of quality education, road network, internet connectivity, pipeline water for the citizen. Mr. Anderson, he and I had a conversation offline when he was in Liberia recently, and he was woefully disappointed, and rightfully so. The people are suffering. I know we sit here in these United States and talk about it. Until you travel to Liberia, you see the hardship that people are going through. It is real. To the extent where sometimes, with all due respect, it has affected the thinking faculties of the people. They don't even think straight. George Weah is almost a stable president. The country is on the wrong track. So if we make a mistake and don't put in the right election on the right person to lead our country and try to experiment based on likeness and try to experiment based on popularity and try to experiment based on tribal alliances, that we will continue to regress. And I'm hoping that this election will look beyond the lenses of patronage, the lenses of whatever endemic corruption or inherent biases that we have, and elect somebody that will be able to take that view to the 22nd century.
Thank you very much, Bobby Mitchell Crawford, and as always, thanks for your contribution on the Hazon. It's a privilege to have you here. And let's come to you, Reverend, not Reverend, but Mr. Martin Boulder. Give us your parting words on the show tonight.
First of all, I want to say
By the way, maybe I see, maybe that God sending me son in the Bible to be a
I
Reverend.
guess so. Maybe God want me to be a reverend. You're
I
not
know,
the first
right?
person.
Go
Well,
ahead.
it's a pleasure to be here tonight on the Lrtn network, and I'm honored to be a part of this panelist. There's a host of things we need to look at in Liberia. Normally we tend to just look at the presidency, that everything it is the presidency, but we got to take a step back and look at the people we elect into our very electoral representation. Those are the key factors that we need to drill down to our people. Who electing, who go to senator, superintendent, and the rest of the folk, the borough counties, the districts, commissioners, and all these very arm of government. That's what the strength is. The president is not being pressured in Liberia to do the right thing because you don't have the right people in the very sub-political division that have to drive their own interests. So you look at the president, one man sitting out there, he doesn't have all of the knowledge, he doesn't have all the ideas. So this election coming, Liberian people need to focus on who is there as a senator, representation in the House. It's very key. Because if you don't elect the right people in the House, there is nobody the president can answer to. You will have the same old 6 and 7 that we're having today. So that's my advice to the Liberian people. George Weah is there, yes, we agree. But if you think about the Senate, you look at the representation, people collecting money for agriculture, for this, for that, and you pay senator representative to go and have agriculture fund for themselves, and it's individual citizens in those districts cannot even afford $1 to buy the seed for the crops. So think about it. That's what I leave you with.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boulder, and thank you for your contribution on the discussions we had tonight. And coming to you, Mistress Collins, give us your parting comment and draw the
Yeah.
curtain on this episode for us.
First of all, I want to say thanks to Lrtn for having me on the panel, and I really appreciate the opportunity given me to be able to talk about the social, economic, and development of our country. To have a platform like that, the opportunity given me to have a platform like that to say and observe and give my opinion about situation in Liberia. I want to say thank you to you and your team. Liberia, we have a job to do. Liberians, we have really a job to do. The presidential election coming with the representative election is one thing, but getting down to the real nitty-gritty of everything across the country, we have a job to do. The country is messed up. The country is bad. The hardship, the suffering, the children, no medication, no good school, no pipeline water. I mean, you just name it. I lost. People dying every day as we speak. Somebody's just dying for simple thing like toothache. Somebody can die from in Liberia. There's no medication. There's a lot of work that we have to do, but we have to conscientize our people. We have to let them know that hey, this is. You have to identify what you want you have to look for things that can make you to understand and realize that if you think your life is better now, you got to think again. Liberian people are suffering. So I want us to use this platform to educate our people as much as possible and let them know that indeed their life can get better, it can be better, and they have to take the responsibility. And we all have a journey, and it's not over yet.
Thank you very much. We all have a journey, and it is not over yet. Thank you very much, Mistress Elizabeth Collins, for your contribution tonight on this episode. And to you too, Mr. Martin Boldad and the Lord Mayor of Bentor. I'd like to thank you guys individually for your contribution tonight. And to our other panelists, we hope to see you on the next episode. And to those of you, and to the production team, we'd like to say thank you so much for the job well done. Every episode, you guys do an amazing job in producing the show. And to those of you watching us, we'd like to say, I personally would like to say thank you so much for your support, and thank you for your continuous participation on this show in the comment section. Those of you that share the program, those of you that like the program, we wholeheartedly appreciate your support, and we assure you that we are committed to the content that you're viewing. We will do our research. We'll put a lot of work into what you're viewing, because we know that if you like what you're viewing, you encourage other people to view what you're viewing. But for tonight, this is how we would like to draw the curtain to this episode of the Horizon. I think I have one announcement here. Bear with me if I can read it real quick. Mayoral Candidate Forum, the future of Philadelphia. That would be on Saturday, February 18, 2023 at 2 p.m. at the Mount Carmel Baptist Church, 5732 Red Street, Philadelphia, PA 19139. So that is the Mountain Chapel Baptist Church and National Coalition of 100 Black Women PA chapter is inviting you, the audience, and whoever hearing this, to a mayoral candidate forum, the future of Philadelphia. And again, the date is Saturday, February 18, 2023 at 2 p.m. And the address is at the Mount Carmel Baptist Church, 5732 Race Street, Philadelphia, PA, and the zip code is 19139. Finding leaders that you can trust. That is the team on this flyer. So that's it for announcement tonight, guys. It's been an amazing show. So, but for now, we will see you on the next episode. But for now, let's draw a curtain to this one. Again, my name is Derek Yale, and this is the Horizon. For you here, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. Have a pleasant time.
Go down, mama. Go down, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Go down, baby. Go down, yeah. Why you shake that? Go down, mama. Go down, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Go down, baby. Go down, yeah. Go down, low. Break your way, man. Go down, low. Go down, low. Shake your way, man. Go down, low. Go down, mama. Go down, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Go down, baby. Go down, yeah. So me say, found girl wanna quack mountain wanna quack yachting. Sweet bodies. Rock and shake it, let me feed her tea. She said she want Mr. Romantic. Big if you walking automatic. Yeah, she had this sassy. Pick up plenty mula in my pocket. Banana way, banana way. Oh yeah, she take on away while she rocking her way like she want my banana way. So, go down, mama. Go down, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Go down, baby. Go down, yeah. Why you shake that? Go down,